Hello everyone. From this video onwards, we are going to start a brand new module in which we are going to discuss React.js. So React.js is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. Till now, whatever videos we covered, where we covered JavaScript, HTML, CSS, so those basic stuff which were sort of prerequisites for learning React, that has been already covered. Now we are in pretty good shape so that we can start with React.js. So React.js, as you can see, that it is a library, it is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. So definitely we have seen that we can create pretty much any user interface using all the things which are natively given in HTML, right? So using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, we can create any UI which we want. In fact, everything which we can do using React, everything can be done using basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript also. At the same time, this library is just sort of a helper toolkit for us. So that we don't have to do lower level stuff, and we can pretty much get what we want in somewhat with somewhat less work. So earlier, some libraries like jQuery or something we discussed earlier, right? That with the progression of time, many such libraries came, and right now the industry standard for building websites, where we are trying to build the front end of that, the user interface we are generally building either in React, or a few other libraries are there like Angular or Vue.js. But the React.js is the dominant one and has like the most market share right now. So, let's see. The first step to do what we have to do is that we have to set up our environment, which means that we have to basically install React.js basically. But in order to make our work easier, in fact, the first of all, let me tell you, this React.js is a library created by Facebook. So earlier, while developing facebook.com, Facebook is essentially Facebook is a pretty much big huge site, right? So earlier they started on building some new paradigms, and later they isolated the things and released it as an open source library called React.js. And now it is a completely open source library with a very much vibrant community. That is fine. The same company, Facebook, which released React.js, they also created another framework in the sense that so React.js is not a framework. React is just a library, right? And you can just like any other library, if you go to npm, like any other library, you can install React also, okay? But you can do that, but generally if you are a beginner, it is not suggested that you directly start working, because then you have to set up everything on your own, like we configured Babel, like we configured Webpack. Similarly, you have to add React into the mix, and then you have to configure everything on your own, right? Nowadays, the nowadays there are some standards which have evolved in the community, and two of the most common standards are, the one is Create React App. This is a framework, and another standard is generally which is in the market is called Next.js. So these two are the frameworks, right? Now the thing is that this Create React App is directly built by Facebook and supported by maintained by Facebook, right? But this Next.js is also good, and it is slightly more advanced, but it is maintained by a separate company called Vercel. Okay. Now, so which one we are going to use? It turns out that both of them you can use, but but as we get started, we should start with create react app because it is slightly simpler. It has a few limitations, but once we get in fact we have I have seen pretty much live production apps from big companies that also built using create react app. So at this point of time you don't have to worry about those things, that what to use, right? But I would just say that Next.js is also something, and Next.js has something called server-side rendering, which is not there in Create React app. But whether you need that, that depends on your project, right? So for now, we'll start with Create React app, and as the time will permit, we will see Next.js also in some later videos. Okay, so Create React app is a framework, and what it does is that it gives you a default setup, which means that you don't need to install, configure, tweak everything. It gives you a default setup so that you just run one command, and you with just one command you get started with React. Means that using this framework, what happens is that your focus is on building apps using React rather than configuring React, right? So it's a big advantage, right? And in fact, because of this only today there are a lot of market standards, and in the community there are a lot of standards developed just because of such an ecosystem. When earlier such an ecosystem was not there, then everything was haywire. Different people were using different sort of things. Like there were a plethora of libraries and frameworks littered around, and then there was no consensus on what to do, right? But from the last, like I believe 5 6 years, the community is very much on a consensus, and the things are converging on, and the people are going towards things which are generally used. So for example, here also you'll see that Next.js and Create React app, they will also use like most many things in common. So so what we will do is that we will you can click here on get started, and you can read the documentation what to do. So you can understand that this is a proper documentation, which means that each and every nuance of Create React app is mentioned here, like how to how to configure something. So for example, we'll see that right now just that once you install and then you do npm start, then automatically browser tab will some browser tab will open. What if you don't want to do that? So all those things, nuances about how to pass environment variables, how to configure, so everything is documented here. Obviously we cannot discuss everything like that in a video, but as and when we go, then we can come back to the site, and we can take a reference from there, from here, right? Now let's get started with this command. So they are saying that you can run this command, npx create react app. So this create react app is the, we know that npx is what, right? Npx simply runs a particular binary, right? If that binary is not there, then it downloads that, and we know that something like that must be published on npm, right? So this thing is there, and then after that, this thing is essentially just the name of the app, which means that what is the folder name in which you want to create your React project. That's it, right? So let's copy this, and what we are going to do is that we can run this. So npx create react app, this is like non-negotiable, this must be the name, and after that, this name you can give anything. So instead of my app, you can write let's say React app, whatever name you want to give for your folder in which the React project you want to create. So that name you can give. So once you run this command, then a folder named React app will be created. So right now here, so right now I'm in full stack folder. If I run command now, then a folder called a folder called React app will be created, and the React and the whole create React app setup, the whole setup will be done in that folder. Okay, that is one way, right? Another way is that you already, let's say, create this folder. you already create this folder, right? I have already created it. So let's say I go inside that folder. Now, instead of so I'm already inside this folder, so I can simply do npx create react app dot, and what this will do is that dot means current folder, right, in Unix system. So in Windows systems, you can try the full path also, that if this does not work, but I believe this should work. So here, instead of I am already inside the folder, so I am saying that initialize my create react app, the whole setup initializes in the current folder, and I'm already inside that folder. So let's try to run that. So I believe it is going to take some time. So if you are running this command for the first time, then it might take a few minutes. If you are running for the second time, then it might be slightly faster. But yeah, so we'll have to wait for this to complete. Yeah, so as you can see that now my installation is complete. When your installation will be complete, then you will get an output similar to this, where they'll say that you can run commands like npm start or something. But firstly, I believe that you will have to do cd inside the directory, which means that directory. So but my I am already inside that directory, right? So if you, because I ran create react app dot, okay, npx create react app dot. Otherwise, if you are running this whole thing, then you go inside that directory. I am already inside that, and then you have to do npm start, and then your project will start. However, uh, just one more thing, when you go inside that directory, then you will see a bunch of files and folders, and now you can see that that package JSON is there already created, right? So you can clearly see that now this is a full-fledged npm project already created, and it has a lot of things. So slowly you'll understand them, but my point is that there is a public folder, there is a src folder, okay. So slowly you'll understand that, but right now you can see that just we have to do npm start, okay. Just one more thing, when you do npm, so basically you have to just run npm start. When you do npm start, then automatically a browser will open, and that might be fine for you actually, but I, for this tutorial, I am going to disable that feature. Why? Because I will have to do that, let's say do npm start many times. I don't want to every time uh, just open the browser and just flicker the screen to that side. I want to manually go to the browser whenever I want, right? And that's why that feature you can disable, and there are two ways of disabling this. If you don't want to disable, that's fine. In fact, you should try to run npm start without disabling that, so that you will get a feel that what I'm talking about, automatically opening the browser. But right now I am going to write browser is equal to none space. So browser is equal to none, this you have to write in front of the start script. So what happens that in Unix systems, when you write something like this, then this browser environment variable with value none will be created, okay. I believe it will be done in Unix, in Windows systems also. If it is not done in Windows systems, then there is one another way, that instead of this, you could create here a new file and name it .env, okay. And in .env you can paste this. You can paste this browser in capital letters is equal to none, okay. But mine is Unix system, so it's not needed. So it should be fine, right? Apart from that, in Windows systems also, if this does not work, then there are other ways of like cross env. There is a package called cross env which you can use to so just CROSS, not triple S. So, so there are packages, so you can go and read the document. But the point is that if there is any issue to anyone, then we'll connect and fix that. So that should not be an issue. Right now, creating a dot file dot env and putting that inside that will work in all cases. Okay, so let's start. When I am running npm start, then you can see that starting the development server, and then it will list the actual port and thing, the whole URL at which the thing is starting. Most probably it will be localhost 3000. If you are already running it at localhost 3000 something, then it might be something else. By mistake, let's say you are running already something, your npm server something is already started on 3000, then it will run different port, but by default it will be 3000. And then you can go and in the browser you can paste it, and then a page something like this will come, and this is the default view when a create react app is started. Okay, so this is the thing. Now how this is from where all these things are coming, that is where the uh, whole this setup is there. So you can see that src has a bunch of things, public thing, this thing has a bunch of things, right? But what we want to do is that whatever is already written and how it is already running, we don't want to bother, right? What we want to do, that we want to create everything from scratch, we want to learn from scratch, right? So what we will do is that we will remove most of the things. So for example, all these things, this index.js, if you go, then you can just delete this report web vitals, you can remove this import of web vitals. Apart from that, you can remove this test file for now. Apart from that, you can remove you can go to app.js. Just I'll come back to that. You can firstly remove these files also. So all these three files you can also remove. That is second thing. And third thing is that we'll clean up this thing a bit. We don't need to import logo. Okay, and we will clean up this everything, and we will simply write hello world, let's say. Okay, first thing you might be wondering that what is this, like this is like, this looks like HTML, right? In fact, earlier this thing was a complete full-fledged HTML, right? You can see img tag, p tag. So what is this going on? How can I write HTML inside JavaScript? This is JavaScript file, right? This is JavaScript file, and you can see it is a module. You can see that import export is there. This is a function, proper JavaScript function, and inside that how this HTML is there. Turns out this is not HTML. This is also JavaScript, but this is not normal JavaScript. This is a special type of JavaScript which is only valid in React. Okay, and this special syntax is called JSX. I believe it is short for JavaScript extension or something. So we'll just Google it. But once you save it, then you go here, and then you will see that all that thing is gone, and just whatever you put hello, that thing is coming here. How the whole thing is working, how the setup is working, we will go through it one by one. But right now I'm just showing you that just clean up everything so that we can start from the clean slate. Okay, so this thing is clean, this thing is clean, this thing okay. Okay, let's remove at least this this whole thing. This whole thing is not needed. The most what we need is let's say some hello world is here, and this class name is, so right now you think like it is HTML only, right? But it is not HTML, but you think, but it behaves also like HTML. So for example, in HTML, if you remember that you had class attribute, right? You had class attribute, right? And you gave a class name, and then you could do that class name dot that thing in CSS file. Here, instead of class, in JSX, class name you have to use, just because of a simple reason. In fact, everything 99% HTML type things are supported here. Here, just class is used as class name simply because you can understand that class is a keyword in JavaScript, right? Class in HTML, class is like not a keyword, that's why class was fine, but in JavaScript, class is a keyword, and we don't want to use keywords inside, like for example, you should not create a variable named class, right? Similarly, you should not use in JavaScript, within JavaScript's code, you should not. So I told you this is JavaScript, right? We will see later how. So we don't want to use those keywords, reserved keywords, right? And that's why some things, not like you can count them on I believe just one hand. So some things are there which are just changed. Other than that, most of the things are like normal HTML like only. This is called JSX, which is similar to HTML. So but you think like this is normal class, okay? But then if class is there, then if this app is there, right? Then I can properly write here dot app, right? And then I can write my styles. Let's see whether that styles work or not. So this hello world, let's try to make this color, let's say red, and let's save it. And you can see that it works, right? So the color is now red, and that all the styles we removed, that's why it is left aligned. Earlier it was center aligned because of that only. And we can go to index.css. We can remove these two also. Let's keep the fonts, let's keep the margin 0, and let's make the size somewhat bigger. So let's make it 20 pixel so that it is more legible. So you can see that it is working fine, right? So yeah, as we can see that now whatever. And one more thing, you might be thinking that as soon as you are doing Control S, means save, then automatically this thing is refreshing without you placing refresh, right? So all the things like live reload we earlier saw, or like automatic webpack dev server we saw, right? So turns out that this thing, uh, this create React app has internally everything. So if you go inside node modules, then you'll see that, see, I have not installed, see, we installed just create React app, and in turn it just installed React scripts. React, you can see that React version 18, React DOM version 18. So actually React can run at multiple places. We are trying to run in the browser directly, right? We are trying to render directly in the browser. So React DOM, so the React and React DOM, these are the two libraries which will be needed for React, right? Just so you can understand like that. On top of that, this React scripts is the core library which is used by create React app. And actually this React scripts looks like a innocent library, but actually internally it has huge number of dependencies. If you see, then you can, if you want, then you can go to npm and you can see it. So let's say I go to npm, and there I go to React scripts, okay, and then I'll go to dependencies. Then you can see that, yeah, we were using Babel, right, for configuration. You can see that Babel it is also using. We were using Webpack, right? You can see that Webpack dev server, like lots and lots of things like they are already using. So that's what I was saying earlier, that this is exactly the purpose of this create React app, that we don't want, they just took our burden and everything, all the setup they they do it automatically. Now this has pros also, this has cons also, right? What is the pro is that we are ready, with our app, right? With just one command. That is a pro, right? Easy to set up, it is easy to get started. The cons are like yeah, earlier we had webpack.config.js, right? And we could do anything whatever we wanted there. Now it is like we cannot do that much easily directly. You can see that yeah, those things like webpack and etc is installed in node modules, but directly there is no way in which we can go and create a webpack config or something, right? So the thing, but there are ways if you want some configuration. See, the worst case is that you don't use create react app at all and you just create your own setup. But that is the one extreme. Another extreme is that you just be in this ecosystem and don't you're not allowed to change anything. And there is a middle ground also, where there are some libraries which allow you to use create react app and at the same time change those configurations also. But we don't want right now, right? So why to bother about those things right now? I just wanted to show you that those sort of things are already inside as a dependency of React scripts, and React scripts is essentially the library for create react app. Okay, so yeah, and that's why. So you can see that webpack dev server etc everything is there. I just wanted to show you because we observe the behavior that as soon as we are just changing anything, hello world, I'm changing to hello world 2 and just saving, then automatically you can see that here things are changing, right? So the thing is that only that automatically these things are working because of the internal setup which is already configured by create react app. Okay, so that should be fine. Now you're just seeing that no idea that how the things are working. What is this public? This public also has a particular HTML file, what it does. So yeah, in the next video we can go and start digging deep into that. One by one we can understand the pieces, and then things will come together. Okay, but the basic setup of React, and you can just launch it and you can see a hello world. That much is done now, right? In the next video we'll get started with the next concepts here. Okay.